Good morning, Acadiana. You are tuned in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate. The Acadiana Advocate is our source of local news. It's our paper here in Lafayette, Louisiana, and we like to get the news that they give us. And luckily, we are joined almost every morning without fail by our dedicated volunteer readers, and in particular, Mr. Bruce Cohen, who you're all very familiar with. Good morning, Bruce. How are you this morning, bud?
Well, good morning. I particularly enjoyed that little jazzy intro that you had going underneath your intro.
I know that was some pretty good music there going on. That was Isolation Swing, and that's by Admiral Bob. He's a regular contributor on Dig CC Mixter and the whole CC Mixter community.
Very good. Very appropriate title, I must say.
Right?
Maybe we can work in a whole, 45 minutes to an hour of music underneath my brilliant news reporting.
I'll have to get the mixing worked out on that, but I'll work on it, Bruce. In the meantime, I'm going to listen to your reporting this morning.
All right. Thank you, my main engineer friend, Matt. Appreciate it. Well, again, good morning, Acadiana. This is Bruce Cohen. I'm here to read you all the news that fits into the next hour. Local and state news. We try to stay local and state. I'm sure you get a barrage of what's happening around the world, but we like to stay local and let you know what's happening in and around Lafayette, Acadiana, and the state of Louisiana. Making waves, Lafayette artists melding Acadiana pride and Black identity, and a new Acadiana Black Pride flag, article by Katie Gagliano. Art is a powerful tool of social movements, and a Lafayette artist is using his visual art skills to marry his support for the Black Lives Matter movement with his love and pride in his adopted home. Corey Stewart, known artistically as Corey St. Ewart, has made a splash of local protest events against racism and police brutality with his adapted Acadiana flag. The color scheme redone in black, green, red, and yellow, colors common in flags of African countries, and the imagery of the gold star replaced with the clenched fist. Fellow protesters had sought him out at events after seeing the flag waving in the distance, excitedly asking where they could get one. The 26-year-old said he never anticipated the flag's reception. "If I did, I would need a bigger ego check than I've ever needed before," Stewart said with a chuckle. Stewart created the flag for a Black History Month showcase with the Willingly Rejected Artists Collective to celebrate Black culture and artistry. The artist said he's a fan of flags and the power they have to communicate allegiance and support, and wanted to create something that encompassed his pride in his adopted home and his Black identity. The flag's meaning and power have grown in light of his recent protest movement. Protests and demonstrations have been ongoing nationwide since late May, when George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer who kneeled on Floyd's neck for nearly 8 minutes while he was prone on the street. Acadiana residents have risen to organize anti-racism demonstrations, challenge white silence against discrimination in the community, and protest police brutality. Stewart has been a fixture at the marches, even organizing a Juneteenth event in downtown Lafayette. Juneteenth is a celebration of Black liberation and marks the day Union soldiers announced the freedom of enslaved Black Americans in Texas on June 19, 1865, years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Stewart said the flag has served as his protest sign. "It was my way of saying Acadiana is here to support Black lives, and this is what we want to look like moving forward. I thought the flag was a good way of sharing that message without using words explicitly," Stewart said. Stewart moved to Lafayette in 2012 to attend the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. He graduated in 2017 and has remained in the city working as a manager at Rev Coffee Roasters UL campus location, campus grounds, and as an artist. Stewart said Lafayette and Acadiana are special. There's a strong sense of regional pride, a vibrant art culture, and an infectious, joyful sense of hospitality. Lafayette wants people to consider Lafayette home and consider Acadiana home. It wants people to feel good and have a good time, love the city, love the culture, and love the people. People want that there is no competitiveness. It's only community, he said. Stewart said his flag now belongs to the community and its meaning has surpassed him and his original intentions. The artist said he hopes the flag is a reminder that the community is for everyone. Its meaning extends beyond Black pride. It also represents white allies who are proudly fighting for anti-racism causes and the progression towards equality and a better changed world. In that better world, Stewart said he hopes the diversity of Black people is celebrated. The artist described himself as individualistic, growing up in a middle-class family and attending private schools. He felt his Blackness was part of the identity, but not the sum of his personhood. He said he wants other Black people to feel empowered to celebrate their differences and stand as individuals. Blackness shouldn't be a box Black people are forced to conform to, he said. If Black people still aren't allowed to be anything they want, then there are some chains left to be broken. That's my personal experience and what I want the future of Black pride and the future of Black people in America to be, Stewart said. Stewart established an online store, Acadiana Black, in early June to sell reproductions of his design on one-sided and dual-sided flags, t-shirts, decals, stickers, and patches. The artist acts as a designer and middleman, partnering with online producers to make the goods before shipping them to their new homes. He's delivered Acadiana Black designs locally, but also as far as Hawaii, Chicago, and Los Angeles, he said. The visual artist said it's humbling and thrilling to know his design could be associated with his historical moment in the future. Navigating and quickly scaling a new business has been strenuous, but the artist said he saw an opportunity to serve the community through his art. After covering production costs, all profits are donated to Black charities and organizations serving the Black community. 26-year-old said Thursday he was cutting his first $1,000 donation check to be divided between the Lafayette and UL NAACP chapters. The donation brought a sense of pride, fulfillment, and peace, he said. Stewart said his devotion to charitable acts is driven by his Catholic faith. Raised in a partially Catholic household and in Catholic schools, Stewart said he didn't delve into his faith fully until attending UL. His exploration of faith changed his life and shaped his adult identity, Stewart said. I'm always challenging myself when it comes to empathy and helping the world and helping God's people. This has been my challenge in my faith and what I've been exploring, he said. Neighbors watch over church after gun bullets found nearby by Megan Wyatt. A handful of neighbors sat outside of a Lafayette church Sunday morning as members of a predominantly Black congregation gathered inside to worship. Their silent message was simple: violence is not welcome here. Just one day earlier, a duffel bag had been discovered outside of Life Change Ministries at the corner of University and Oak Lawn Avenues. Inside there was a shotgun with the serial number filed off, bullets, a cell phone, and a change of clothes. The bag was turned over to the Lafayette Police Department, but the disturbing discovery left the church pastor and congregants unsettled. They wondered if the bag could have been hidden behind the church after a crime, or if the bag was stashed there in preparation for an attack on those inside the church. Considering everything going on at the time and this being a predominantly Black congregation, it just makes you wonder, said Louis L.J. Miller, pastor of the non-denominational church. Hopefully God keeps his angels around to protect us. Brian Schneider and his wife Kelly Clayton asked their neighbors to sit outside of the church Sunday morning to show their solidarity with the congregation and against violence. And people who are white were pleased to see a few others join them Sunday morning. We just did this because it's the right thing to do as neighbors and as a community, said Schneider, who lives across the street from the church. You change the world one face and one action at a time. Church is located at the edge of St. Streets in downtown neighborhoods near University's Ave intersection with Congress Street. Sunday marked the third week of indoor services after several weeks of online-only services because of the coronavirus. Miller, who is Black, said he is thankful the predominantly white neighborhood is supportive of the church during a time of national protest over racial inequality and police brutality against Black people. I'm very grateful the church is located in such a good community, the pastor said. If I had one complaint, it's that we weren't able to get law enforcement out here to do patrol during the service. Miller said he reached out to Lafayette Police Department to request a patrol, but was unable to reach anyone because the office is closed to the public because of the coronavirus. Our police department spokesman reached Sunday afternoon was not familiar with the situation, but said anyone who wants to request a patrol can always dial 911 to speak to a dispatcher. The department is closed, said Sergeant Wayne Griffin, but we always respond to non-emergency calls. You can always dial 911, even if it's not an emergency. And as a side note, if you're wondering why the police station when offices are closed, is because an employee was found to be positive with COVID-19, I think last week. So they closed down the offices to thwart the ongoing passing of the virus. Okay, and now we get to the COVID-19 coronavirus, the latest update. Concert event under scrutiny. Cage Dome hosts drive-in show as cases spike in Lafayette by Megan Wyatt. Hundreds of people gathered Saturday night for a drive-in concert outside of the Cajun Dome, the same place where hundreds were being tested for the coronavirus just 3 months earlier. Lafayette Parish has recently become one of the worst virus hotspots in the state, prompting Mayor President Josh Guillory to announce Friday stricter measures than those implemented by Governor John Bel Edwards during phase 2 of the state's reopening plan. Guillory's proclamation includes a number of measures to help fight the recent surge of coronavirus cases, including reinstating a curfew for minors, banning loitering downtown, and increasing compliance checks. It also restricts all public gatherings of 200 or more people. A Saturday afternoon update to the proclamation clarified that the Garth Brooks drive-in concert would still take place as planned, however. Although some people remained in the vehicles for the show, many people gathered outside the vehicles with friends and families outside of their households, with few of those wearing masks. An event held alongside the concert with vendors and a movie also drew a smaller crowd to the Dome. There's been public outcry on social media about the event and what it might mean for community spread of the virus in the days and weeks ahead. Lafayette Parish had 110 new confirmed coronavirus cases on Saturday and Sunday, according to the latest update from the Louisiana Department of Health. The number of positive cases among those being tested continues to rise. The state's most recent updates show more than 13% of those tested for the virus are positive in the Acadiana area, higher than the state's 8% rate. Public health experts say a high positive rate suggests that there isn't enough testing happening. Hospitalizations are also on the rise in the area. There were 107 patients hospitalized Sunday for the virus in the Department of Health's Region 4, which includes Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, and Vermilion parishes in the Acadiana area. That's just 18 fewer people than the region's peak in early April. The Louisiana Office of the Fire Marshal received a few complaints before Saturday's event outside of the Cajun Dome, according to Ashley Rodriguez, spokeswoman for the State Fire Marshal's office. A lieutenant was sent to the scene to investigate the complaints, but no action was taken because the event complied with the governor's more lax restrictions that prohibited gatherings of more than 250 people at an indoor venue. The state agency is responsible for enforcing those measures implemented by the governor, whereas local law enforcement and fire departments are responsible for implementing the mayor president's proclamation. Lafayette Police Department, Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, and Lafayette Fire Department did not take any enforcement action related to crowd size, social distancing, or face mask usage during Saturday's event, according to spokespeople for each agency. Each had been informed that the event could continue as planned. Compliance checks at local businesses over the weekend also yielded no enforcement actions. And now we turn to a couple of public service announcements for this morning. From the Diocese of Lafayette Office of Communications, Bishop Douglas Desautels of the Diocese of Lafayette has confirmed with Lafayette Mayor President Josh Guillory that churches are exempt from the updated COVID-19 guidelines now in effect in Lafayette Parish, which limit gatherings to 200 people and mandate the wearing of masks. All Catholic Church parishes in the diocese will continue to operate under the State of Louisiana Phase 2 reopening directives. Bishop Desautels continues to strongly recommend that parishioners wear masks while attending Mass. Camp Unique, Dreams Foundation. Every summer, the Dreams Foundation of Acadiana hosts the greatest camp of all, Camp Unique. Camp Unique is suited for individuals with special needs. Camp Unique will be held July 13th through the 17th for ages 5 to 13 and July 20th to the 24th for ages 14 and up. Fees will be $75, and the theme this year is Peace and Love. All Camp Unique sessions will be held at Lark's Acadian Village. Individuals of all ages have a blast participating in a camp that is specifically tailored to them. They get the opportunity to take part in activities such as art, fitness, karaoke, music, and dance, as well as getting a Camp Unique t-shirt and a snack every day. A highlight of Camp Unique this year will be the storytelling session by Chief Greyhawk Perkins, commented Dreams Foundation Executive Director Danielle Watkins. As a recognized expert on Native American and American colonial history, Perkins has inspired many audiences over the year, sharing tales of ancient cultures as a tribal storyteller and as a teacher of various subjects in Louisiana's school system. The registration form from Camp Unique can be found on the Dreams Foundation of Acadiana website. That's dreamsfoundationaca.org. Volunteers are also being sought at this time. If you're interested in volunteering, you can complete the application on the Dreams website under the Volunteer tab. For more information about Camp Unique, contact Danielle Watkins by email at Danielle, that's D as in daughter, ONIELLE, at dreamsfoundationaca.org, or simply call 337-962-1609. That's 337-962-1609. Looking back at our news, Ridge Elementary educators get $2,000 summer reading grant by Katie Gagliano. The students at Ridge Elementary are getting their summer reading boost through a $2,000 summer reading and literacy grant. Ridge Elementary was one of more than 950 schools, nonprofits, and organizations to receive financial support from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation, a charitable organization that supports literacy efforts for adults and children in communities where Dollar General operates, a Lafayette Parish school system release said. This year, the foundation dedicated $8.6 million to literacy initiatives. The grant application was the brainchild of Ridge librarian Chassie Navarre and instructional leader Gina Cormier, who saw an opportunity to stave off the summer slide of the loss of knowledge during the summer months among vulnerable students in first and second grade. Reading is part of every subject, whether it's science, math, social studies. Reading is important. Research shows students who read will in fact not slide, Navarre said. The two women have pursued grants and donors' choice programs before, but they wanted something with more leverage to teach more students, Cormier said, and that is Donors Choose program. They sent the application in February, but when the coronavirus pandemic closed schools in mid-March, they put thoughts of the grant on the back burner. Both women said they figured the grant funds would be postponed amid the resulting economic tumult. But in mid-May, they received a congratulatory email from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation. About a month later, they received the grant check in the mail and began hurriedly making purchasing plans. It's exciting. It feels like an accomplishment just to get any books into the children's hands, Navarre said. The educators plan to bundle 3 to 4 books each for roughly 85 to 100 students who were in first and second grade this spring. The children they chose were most likely to suffer from summer slide, either because they lack access to books at home or because they've struggled with reading performance in the past. They use accelerated reader data or AR data, logged from a home reading event, and other data to assess need and triangulate the students that would most benefit from reading materials over the summer, Cormier said. Navarre said she approached her book orders with each child in mind, trying to find books each child will be excited to read and would take pride in owning. She looked at properly checked out books for the kids' age range. Some titles she ordered included the Pete the Cat series by illustrator James Dean and the Elephant and Piggy series by Mo Willems, she said. According to their interest, helps transform reading from a chore to an enjoyable pastime, they said. It keeps them in that learning frame of mind because they get to see, I don't have to read just at school, I can read at home, Cormier said. Cormier has drafted a reading guide and tips for reading engagement to accompany each book. Engaging with the material is critical to comprehension and retaining learning skills, and the instructional leader recommends activities like acting out character roles, having kids read aloud, and asking questions about the story to help them absorb the material, she said. The educators are still coordinating delivery logistics. Before the pandemic, they helped to distribute the books before the end of the school year. Now they're considering a combination of contactless book deliveries at students' homes and a pickup day for families with transportation options, they said. Ridge Elementary Principal Rodner Dickinson said Ridge serves a largely rural population with no public transportation system, and children whose parents or guardians both typically work and may not have access to transportation or online learning resources. The school has a significant low-income population, and ensuring continuous access to learning materials is crucial to closing learning gaps, she said. The book bundles do more than uplift the students academically. They also support the students emotionally by reminding them of their teachers and school's love and support, the principal said. Students respond positively to relationships with their educators, and those relationships are especially important now when students need stability and normalcy after schools closed early because of the pandemic, she said. I'm very proud of the culture of learning at Ridge. It's a family-oriented culture. This is a win for us as teachers and a win for the kids. It's a win as an administrator too, because it warms your heart to know your teachers are reaching out to the kids even in the summer and in the midst of all this, Dickerson said. Louisiana National Guard plans a Wednesday hospital flyover in 5 cities, including Lafayette. Article out of Baton Rouge. Louisiana National Guard plans a helicopter hospital flyover in 5 cities on Wednesday to honor first responders and healthcare workers. Weather permitting, 8 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters will start about 11 a.m. Wednesday, 4 in Slidell and 4 in Alexandria, a news release said Friday. They'll be in the Hammond area around 11:10 a.m., the Lafayette and Monroe areas around noon, the Lake Charles area at about 1:40, and the Shreveport area at 2:30. The helicopters are scheduled to pass over Slidell Memorial Hospital in Slidell, St. Tammany Parish Hospital, North Oaks Medical Center in Hammond, Lafayette General Medical Center, Lake Charles Memorial Hospital, Christus St. Francis Cabrini Hospital in Alexandria, St. Francis Medical Center in Monroe, and Ochsner LSU Health in Shreveport. All right, getting back to some public service announcements before we hit our half-hour mark. where we'll get the day in history and the zodiac or horoscope, as I refer it to, and the funerals in the Acadiana area today. Vitalant begins testing all blood donations for antibodies to COVID-19. Vitalant has become the first national blood bank to test all blood donations for antibodies to SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. The nation's largest independent nonprofit blood collector, serving hospital patients in South Louisiana, is providing the test results to donors who complete successful blood donations, which are critically needed now. The antibody test, authorized by the FDA, will indicate if the donor's immune system has produced antibodies to the virus, regardless of whether they ever showed symptoms. It is possible that over time, the broad use of antibody tests and clinical follow-up will provide the medical community with more information on whether a person who has recovered from COVID-19 is at a lower risk of infection, and if so, for how long. For more information, visit vitalant.org/COVID-free. Donors are urged to give blood as soon as possible. Appointments are strongly recommended. Visit vitalant.org or call 877-258-4825. That's 877-258-4825. AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, and it's Cox 16, LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedules and to submit content for the program, you can visit anytime the United Way of Acadiana website, unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding the public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7, and all calls are confidential. You can call 1-866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977. All right, well, let's look at our day in history and our zodiac, or horoscope, and the funerals in the Acadiana area for today. Today is Monday, June 29th, the 181st day of 2020. There are potentially 185 shopping days left in the year. Today's history, highlight in history, on June 29th, 1613, London's original Globe Theatre, where many of Shakespeare's plays were performed, was destroyed by a fire sparked by a cannon shot during a performance of Henry VIII. It's very interesting. On this date, in 1520, Montezuma II, the ninth and last emperor of the Aztecs, died under unclear circumstances. Some say he was killed by his own subjects, others by the Spanish. In 1767, Britain approved the Townshend Revenue Act, which imposed import duties on glass, paint, oil, lead, paper, and tea shipped to the American colonies. Colonists briefly protested, prompting Parliament to repeal the duties except for tea. In 1776, the Virginia State Constitution was adopted, and Patrick Henry was made governor. In 1927, the first trans-Pacific airplane flight was completed as U.S. Army Air Corps Lieutenant Lester J. Maitland and Lieutenant Albert F. Hegenberger arrived at Wheeler Field in Hawaii aboard the Bird of Paradise, an Atlantic Fokker C-2, after flying 2,400 miles from Oakland, California in 25 hours and 50 minutes. In 1974, Isabel Martinez de Perón was sworn in as acting president of Argentina 2 days before the death of her ailing husband, President Juan Perón. In 1995, the space shuttle Atlantis and the Russian Mir space station linked in orbit, beginning an historic 5-day voyage as a single ship. In 2006, the Supreme Court ruled 5-3 that President George W. Bush's plan to try Guantanamo Bay detainees in military tribunals violated U.S. and international law. And on this date in 2009, disgraced financier Bernard Madoff received a 150-year sentence for his multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme. 10 years ago, China and Taiwan signed a tariff-slashing trade pact that boosted economic ties and further eased political tension 6 decades after the rivals split amid civil war. 5 years ago, a deeply divided Supreme Court upheld the use of a controversial drug, midazolam, in lethal injection executions. Executions that employed midazolam took longer than usual and raised concerns that the drug did not perform its intended task of putting inmates into a coma-like sleep. 1 year ago, in Major League Baseball's first game in Europe, the New York Yankees outlasted my team, the Boston Red Sox, 17-13, in a London game that stretched for 4 hours and 42 minutes, just 3 minutes shy of the record for a 9-inning game. Today's birthdays: singer-songwriter Garland Jeffries is 77, actor Gary Busey is 76, comedian Richard Lewis is 73, singer Don Dokken from the group Dokken is 67, rock singer Colin Hay from Men at Work is 67, actress Maria Conchita Alonso is 65, actress Sharon Lawrence is 59, violinist Anne-Sophie Mutter is 57, rhythm and blues singer Stedman Pearson from Five Star is 56, a musician Dale Baker is 54, rap DJ Shadow is 48, actor-dancer Will Kemp is 43, comedian writer Carlin Jost is 38, and actress Camelia Mendez from the TV show Riverdale is 26. Right, turning to the zodiac or the horoscope. Cancer. Take advantage of an opportunity to learn. How you spend your time will affect the type of day you have. Don't sit around waiting for something to come to you. Leo. Physical activity will help restore your balance and push you in a meaningful direction. Don't feel obligated to make a change because someone else does. Live within your budget. Virgo, my birth sign. Listen carefully, assess the situation, and make practical choices. Expect the youngsters and seniors in your life to overreact. Remain calm to control the outcome. Libra, refuse to get dragged into a situation that has nothing to do with you. Your words will be against you. Spend time making personal improvements instead of trying to change others. Scorpio, expand your skills, knowledge, and experience. Use your attributes to fit changing trends. Your success will depend on your ability to diversify and adapt. Sagittarius, avoid joint ventures. Spend time changing your surroundings to accommodate a project you want to start. A close relationship will improve with a little tender, loving care. Capricorn, you'll thrive on change. Dedication will be required to get things done. However, don't make the mistake of neglecting the needs of someone close to you in the process. Aquarius, keep your emotions tucked away when dealing with money matters or changes that are happening at home. Pitching in and doing your best to help will ease whatever transition is taking place. Pisces, offer help to others, but don't let anyone take advantage of you. Leave time to take care of yourself and do something that brings you joy. A creative project will ease stress. Aries, keep busy and put your energy into something that counts. Less talk and more action will bring better results. Don't take on someone else's responsibilities. Do your own thing. Taurus, embrace change and make whatever is happening around you work in your favor. an opportunity to improve your income is heading your way. Speak up, share your ideas, and change your destiny. Gemini, finally Gemini. Pay attention to the way you look and how you present yourself to the world. Health, diet, and exercise will lift your spirits and encourage you to try new things. And as always, folks, as we say here at the AOC, the horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based on scientific fact. Looking at the funerals in the Acadiana area today, Mark Brignac at the Sunrise Chapel at Walter's Funeral Home, 2424 North University Ave in Lafayette at 2 p.m. And Tyler Abear at David or David Funeral Home, 2600 Charity Street in Abbeville at 3 p.m. Okay, looking back into the news. Louisiana National Guard plans, we did that. Yeah, we did that, I'm sorry. Read the story about the flyovers. Okay, moving on. Doctors feel health effects of isolation. Patients experience anxiety, weight gain, substance abuse, and sexual dysfunction by Emma Kennedy. Some doctors are starting to see major psychological effects of the coronavirus pandemic lockdown as patients cope with months of isolation, job loss, and life changes. Doctors in the Baton Rouge area are reporting an increase of patients with weight gain, anxiety and depression, alcohol use, and sexual dysfunction as the prolonged stresses of the virus impact even those who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Vicki Munson, a Baton Rouge general primary care physician with a clinic in Zachary, said patients who had never been reported mental health concerns have been presenting with anxiety about their current situation. Many have an increase in blood sugar and blood pressure, weight gain resulting from a combination of eating poorly and many gyms being closed or exacerbation of chronic conditions. It's a vicious cycle, she said. Governor John Bel Edwards issued a statewide stay-at-home order on March 22nd. Though the state has slowly loosened restrictions, businesses, schools, houses of worship, and other places are not back to the pre-coronavirus operations. Social distancing measures and mask wearing are still strongly encouraged, and many Louisianians have been living their new normal for more than 3 months now. During that time, a lot of patients avoided doctors' offices for minor medical issues or annual physicals, said Ochsner physician Chad Braden, who began seeing almost as many patients as prior to the pandemic at his office at the Grove in Baton Rouge. He's been seeing the same anxiety and depression as other doctors in the area. It's not just because of the fear of the pandemic, it's all the changes in people's lives. They've been living with them for a while now, he said. A lot of folks who would come in with 1 or 2 problems now have 10 concerns, mostly related to how they're living now. People are having difficulty sleeping, staying motivated to work out while gyms are closed, and have been eating poorly for comfort or convenience, the doctors noted. Also, people are more distracted while working from home as anxiety impacts their ability to do their jobs, and some have been turning to alcohol as a way to cope. Those with chronic conditions to monitor, like diabetes, blood pressure, or mental illnesses, have in some cases had lapses in medication compliance and medical appointments despite an increase in virtual and telehealth visits. We know that poorly controlled hypertension, diabetes, and worsening obesity are risk factors for those patients that are doing poorly with COVID-19, said Lauren Barfield at Our Lady of Lourdes physician. Our Lady of the Lake physician. Our Lady of Lourdes is Lafayette. Our Lady of the Lake is Baton Rouge. If they're not getting regular checkups and aren't following up, then they don't have a handle on it. And when compounding that with depression and anxiety, it makes it even worse. As for new patients seeking help for anxiety and depression, Barfield said, some are seeking virtual visits for those issues, but most are still very private about their personal life and how they're coping. Most people don't even realize how much stress and anxiety impacts their health and general well-being, but we pick up a lot from just walking in with a patient, like if they're looking tired, slumped, how they walk in and how they talk, she said. Barfield emphasized the importance of finding a consistent primary care doctor who knows your health over time to identify those changes. Some doctors and counselors are seeing patients reporting everything from erectile dysfunction to relationship issues and even fertility problems. People are, for the first time in a very long time, looking at relationships through a different lens, said the New Orleans-based counselor Brian Knight, who specializes in sex therapy. Before, we were burdened by the daily ground. Mortgage payment, kids, and sex was a small part of that. But with all this closeness and people participating in isolation, it gives them pause and time to reflect on their relationship. He said couples that may have been going through a rough patch pre-pandemic are likely now at a make or break period where isolation could bring them closer or be the final straw. He said patients with sexual performance issues as a result of the pandemic will likely be common, especially the longer it drags on. It's nothing to do with the performance in the bedroom, but everything to do with 1,000 things going on outside of it, Knight said. Tracy Carlson, another New Orleans-based therapist, says she's been following studies done at the Kinsey Institute at Indiana University as they survey the impact of the pandemic on relationships, sex, and mental health. We don't know what's going on with this virus. People are losing their jobs. They can't go to school, can't socialize. It's really uprooting this way of life, she said. We're used to looking at things with an individual lens, but now in this situation, it's a collective lens. Added to that are a likely decrease in privacy with every family member at home all the time, Carlson said. And then there are stresses, like the savings account dwindling while the mortgage is due. Carlson suggested reaching out to a counselor to find coping mechanisms. She personally is doing all of her sessions online, she said, as are many other providers. The doctors and therapists universally agree that a healthy diet and exercise are among the most important elements to stay consistent with throughout the pandemic to combat the everyday stress and anxiety of life. Some recommended mind and body activities like yoga and finding someone to talk to regularly, particularly for those people who live alone. Now that restrictions are lessening and virtual visit capabilities are increasing, it's important patients not suffer needlessly with issues they think could be minor, like chest pains, headaches, and shortness of breath, said Munson, the Baton Rouge general doctor. These symptoms could be linked to anxiety or a more serious underlying medical issue. At first, a lot of people were scared to go in and get treated for those non-corona things, but in the long term, they're doing more damage, Munson said. We don't want to see them go untreated for an unrelated condition, and then it turns into a major condition. Okay, before I go to the next story, let me just take a sip of my tea here. A little bit better, thank you for that brief moment. Time running out to resolve two major issues: the 2020 legislature special session by Tyler Bridges. An unprecedented special session called by Republican legislators during the coronavirus crisis still must resolve two key issues before adjournment at 6 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday. Legislators still must approve the operating and construction budgets that will fund healthcare, education, prisons, and countless other state activities beginning July 1st. Members of the House and Senate seem in broad agreement thanks to an infusion of $1 billion in federal money that left lawmakers having to make only minimal budget changes or cuts. The Republican-led legislature also must settle on a plan on the most contentious issue of the year: the effort to limit court payments to car accident victims and their attorneys. Republicans are advancing several different measures that they call tort reform in the face of a likely veto from Governor John Bel Edwards, a Democrat, if he believes they go too far in limiting the legal rights of car accident victims. The House adjourned after 30 minutes Sunday without conducting any substantive business. After a lengthy debate, the Senate on Sunday approved two business tax breaks contained in House Bills 11 and 13. If we don't do something, we'll lose a lot of businesses that are struggling. State Senator Barry Milligan, Republican from Shreveport, told his colleagues at one point. Democrats objected to no avail, with State Senator Karen Peterson, Democrat from New Orleans, taking the lead and warning that giving away money during a time of budget uncertainty is not fiscally wise. HB 11 and HB 13, HB stands for House Bill, both require House passage to win final legislative approval. The Senate also gave final legislative approval to naming Christopher Keaton, a well-regarded veteran budget analyst, to be the next legislative fiscal officer. In that role, Keaton will oversee an 18-person office that plays a key part in determining the fate of money bills by estimating their cost. Keaton has promised to include dynamic scoring in his office's analysis, something sought by Republican lawmakers who believe that traditional analysis underestimates the benefits of cutting taxes. The regular and special sessions have seen the full expression of the most conservative Republican majority in memory, one that is intent on providing tax breaks to businesses and targeting the activities of trial lawyers who are perhaps the biggest campaign contributors to the Democratic Party. Legislatures have carried out their work under the shadow of the coronavirus pandemic. Edwards announced the first known case in Louisiana in his speech opening the legislature on March 9th. Legislatures have met for another week, but with infections exploding, they recessed until May 4th. The state economy collapsed after Edwards was forced to shut down most business activities to control the virus's spread. The virus has kept the public from the state capitol. Most Republican legislators have disregarded the request by Edwards and public health officials that everyone wear masks in public settings. By late May, it was clear that the Republican leadership was slow walking passage of the budget to force a special session in case Edwards vetoed the tort bill passed at the behest of business interests. All but once before, governors had called legislators into a special session. But this time, Republican legislatures called themselves into the extra session with a 41-item agenda sought by the business interests. Several clear themes have emerged during both sessions. One is that Edwards has been forced onto the defense after the fallout from the coronavirus meant he could not achieve his chief legislative goals: more money for teachers, K-12 schools, and public colleges and universities. For perhaps the first time, legislatures have pushed an agenda directly at odds with the governor, who traditionally has set the legislative agenda. Another theme is the Republican effort to try to aid businesses, both through a $300 million expenditure of federal money and a host of tax breaks. At the same time, to save money, Republican senators also seem intent on withholding a planned pay raise that will average $1,400 to 38,000 classified state employees. Democrats, meanwhile, sought to aid unemployed workers. 275,000 people were jobless in April, and workers who earn less than $50,000. Edwards vetoed the tort bill on June 12, but Republicans have lacked the votes to override him. Instead, they have pushed various measures, including House Bill 57 by Speaker Clay Schnecksnyder, Republican from Gonzales, which would change how Louisiana conducts jury trials with the claim that this will reduce the state's high car insurance rates. HB 57 is being negotiated in a conference committee. Two conservative legislators, State Senator Robert Mills, Republican from Minden, and State Representative Alan Seabaugh, Republican from Shreveport, are pushing resolutions the governor can't veto that would suspend some of the impacted laws should Schnecksnyder's measure not pass or be rejected by Edwards. COVID-19, remembering the victims, family raises concerns after nursing home's resident's death by Leah Skeen. Veronica Adams celebrated her 55th birthday separated from her children and siblings, bedridden in her Baton Rouge nursing home's designated coronavirus unit and struggling to swallow the protein shakes and smoothies meant to keep her nourished. She was found unresponsive less than 2 weeks later. Our family wants to know what happened during that time. Relatives have gotten into the habit of visiting Adams almost every day at the care center on Florida Boulevard, hoping their presence would keep staff more attentive to her needs, her son said. That changed when she was diagnosed with coronavirus and placed in the special unit, which did not allow visitors. Will they just, excuse me, just another little sip of tea here. Were they just ignoring her? It's hard to know what was going on, said her son, Justin Merchant. I don't want to blame them, but I do feel like more could have been done. As the pandemic continues its rampant spread through American nursing homes, some families claim they're being left in the dark while their loved ones battle the disease behind closed doors. And often in facilities struggling to contain outbreaks that overwhelm the resources of medical staff. Nursing homes and assisted living facilities are responsible for a massive share of the nationwide coronavirus death toll. Louisiana follows that trend with more than 40% of the state's coronavirus deaths tied to such facilities. Hospitals across the country have struggled during the pandemic with difficult questions about balancing a patient's treatment needs with potential harm to their caregivers, questions that place medical professionals in an agonizing and often unfamiliar position. When relatives called the nursing home for updates, Merchant said, staff would often tell them it took a long time to feed her because she was still having trouble swallowing. Meanwhile, family members would drop off smoothies and juice for her whenever possible, hoping more options would help. They were able to video chat with her only once during that time. Okay. Eventually, Miss Merchant was moved to the Baton Rouge decades ago to be closer to her dad's family after her bipolar disorder became more serious and continued to struggle with mental illness most of her life, Merchant said. She nonetheless did everything possible to support her children. They had dropped off birthday gifts just weeks before her death, hoping for a future celebration that never came. Survey finds attitudes on race changing for white Southerners by Chad Calder. A new study has found white Southerners are more likely to think poverty is caused by a lack of opportunity than they were 8 months ago. But those who do are still about equal to those who say it's due to poor life choices and are well below Black and Latino respondents are well below Black and Latino respondents asked the same question. The survey of 1,800 Southerners, composed of equal numbers of white, Black, and Latino respondents, was released earlier this month by former New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu's nonprofit race relations initiative, E Pluribus Unum. The survey was taken in Texas, Arkansas, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, and the 8 states to the south from May 26th to June 2nd, and the margin of error is plus or minus 4. Landrieu said that the survey, which included questions about the coronavirus pandemic, found several positive shifts in how white Southerners view poverty, systemic racism, and economic opportunity through large racial gaps, and perceptions and attitudes on racism persist. It is clear that the last few weeks of protests and tough discussions have become a learning moment for the country, Landrieu said in a written statement that accompanied the survey results. We've seen important movement afoot on a number of questions related to understanding systemic racism. But while the compounding of COVID-19 and the murder of George Floyd may provide us an inflection point to move this work forward, make no mistake, we have a long way to go. And finally, a sports-related story. Area football players handling distractions well. Unusual summer workout routine, not a problem, by Kevin Foote. He's usually the sports writer or editor for the Acadiana Advocate. Monday will begin the 4th week of team workouts for high school football teams around the Acadiana area. No coach around the area would ever volunteer for this level of workouts in a non-coronavirus pandemic era, but they do appreciate how well their parents have adjusted to the Lafayette, to Louisiana High Schools Athletic Associations, or LHSAA's inhibiting guidelines for safety reasons. We've been getting in some pretty good work, Northside coach John Simon said. It's different, but the kids have been pretty focused. A lot of those kids were ready to come back. When we started workouts, we started on time almost every day. The kids have actually adjusted pretty well. I guess this is a plus for them. When you're away from something for so long, you miss things. When you get back into it, it's exciting. The measures include taking temperatures to social distancing, to even staying out of the weight room to be extra safe at some schools. We were just happy to get out there and see all the guys, Northwest coach Chris Edwards said. We haven't touched a football. All we've done is conditioning. We haven't been inside the weight room at all. My training staff said it's best to just be out in the sunlight, so we've just been outside running and doing a little bit of teaching and conditioning. Nothing major. We're just happy to be out there and doing stuff again. Edwards said some parents were initially hesitant to have their kids participating until they witnessed the school's daily protocol. We checked temperatures of everyone in the car, including the parents and the brothers and sisters, Edwards said. If anybody's running a fever, we don't even let the kid get out of the car. Once they saw what we were doing, some of those parents that were skeptical at first started letting their kids come out here. Acadiana High coach Matt McCullough said none of his parents have expressed reservations about their kids taking part in workouts. In fact, his players have handled the unusual summer circumstances. I think our kids have handled things very well, McCullough said. They're working hard. I don't sense that they're real nervous or anxious or anything like that. Like the other coaches, McCullough said his players have worked without fear the coronavirus will delay or shut down the regular season. I'm not even sure if they even understand that, McCullough said. I don't think our guys are even thinking about that too much, in my opinion. Ascension Episcopal coach Matt Desmarais said, maybe I'm wrong. I think they're just thinking, let's get through this thing so we can get back to playing some games. They just want to keep working and get ready for whenever their time comes so they can go. In addition to taking temperatures and strategically organizing 20 to 25 person groups, the first few weeks also included staff gouging their players' physical limitations, or gauging, I should say, I'm sorry. I know they're out of shape, Simon said. The first day I had to tell my coaches, look, we've got to tone it down a little bit. We can't come in here like it's spring season. A lot of kids came in 20 pounds heavier. All they've been doing is sitting at home, eating and playing video games. We definitely have kids who couldn't run sprints and couldn't finish drills. No coach is under the illusion that any true football activities are being achieved to date. However, luckily for us, we've been running the same schemes for the last 5 years, offensively and defensively, so it won't be that hard for them to catch on, Desmarais said. But there will be a lot of fundamental things that we'll have to go over, like blocking techniques and tackling techniques, because right now you can't touch people. That will be a catch-up game. Edwards looks forward to the day when he can work on more than conditioning, but he also sees the advantage of teamwork during these troubled times. It's been a good morale building with the teams, Edwards said. We haven't seen each other in 2 months. We're just happy to see these guys' faces. We only go twice a week. I bring my bigs in on Monday and Wednesday, and the skill guys go Tuesday and Thursday. We're just trying to get their morale back up because sports means a lot to these kids. Another role the coaches can play during these summer workout sessions is persuading players to abide social distancing guidelines after they leave the school. Yes, we talk to the kids about it, but it's difficult, McCullough said. It's summertime. Parents are going to go places and kids are going to go places, mostly with their friends. It's tough to keep them in the house during the summer. Once school starts, it's going to be a lot easier to get into that kind of routine. And that about wraps up our news broadcast for this morning. I appreciate you tuning in. We do this every Monday through Friday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We read you all the local and state news brought to you by the Acadiana Advocate with our volunteer newspaper readers, including myself. We appreciate you tuning in. If you're interested in becoming a newspaper reading volunteer, you can go to our website, AOC Inc., that's AOCINC.org. Look up the newspaper reader volunteer page. Fill out the form, submit it electronically, and our supervisor, Mandy, will get back in touch with you and put you on the team. And it's a great community event that we have that goes on through Friday, a service that we can provide to the community for those who don't have access to the news cycle. We really appreciate you again tuning in. Again, this has been Bruce Cohen. I wish you a very healthy, safe, and fun day. When you're out there, please take protocols, wear your mask, wash your hands, sanitize whenever needed. And when you're around people, just, take precautions. Please be careful so we can, again, together get through this pandemic. Have a great day and be kind to each other.